with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get this show on the road. Thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of For the People podcast. And of course, I am your humble host, Niko House. We have a very exciting show for you today. Jill Stein and Butch Ware went on The Breakfast Club, and it looks to me as if they had planned on bombarding them, on blindsiding them, as if they were going to catch Jill Stein and Butch Ware off guard. It looked to me, if you watched the interview, it looked as if they had been given talking points, right? Because a lot of the things that were brought up are not normally brought up when it comes to the candidates or politicians that they interview on The Breakfast Club. All of a sudden, they wanted to get into technicalities, and all of a sudden, they wanted to start bringing up statistics, which is kind of crazy because they usually just do sensationalist, feel good things are good, bad things are bad type of conversation. But all of a sudden, they wanted to start trying to get into the technicalities and strategies of politics. And they realized that they were kittens. At some point, they realized that they were kittens that were jumping into the ring with lions. And they left themselves exposed. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about the debate between Trump and Kamala a bit. And I say a bit because there's not really more than a bit to talk about. They didn't accomplish shit. I don't think either of them did well. I think that both of them failed to achieve their goals coming out of that debate. I don't care what either side says. I think that both of them failed to achieve their goal. Neither of them came out looking better or worse than before. And honestly, it just was very disappointing. It was very disappointing for the future of the United States and therefore the future of the world, because it looks like we're going to end up with just two shitty choices once again. Anyway, before I get this show on the road, I got to say, y'all, because, we're in this together, right? And y'all see my little baby boy since he was born. And this week, out of nowhere, at 3:30 in the morning, he screams out, "Daddy." Literally just wakes up and he looks over, he goes, "Daddy, Dad." I'm like, did he say what I think he just said? Yeah, he said what I thought he said, because then he did not stop saying it until, actually, no, he still hasn't stopped saying it. He literally, that whole morning, he stayed up until like 9 or 10, just repeating it over and over again. And it's funny because he was like doing some weird thing for like the last week, maybe. He's been doing this weird thing when he goes, like he's eating something, right? But he's not eating anything. Or he'll just do that, just spit. I'm like, what the hell is he doing? Why is he doing that? And it's like he was trying to communicate, and I guess he was trying to put the words together. And it's like he had a dream, and it was an epiphany. And he woke up out of the dead of his sleep to scream, "Daddy." So, yeah, my Brazilian baby still speaks English. Thank God, right? Yeah, that's great. So now he's aware that he's talking to me whenever he says it, because whenever I walk into the room, he'll be like, "Dad, Dad, 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 Dad." It's the cutest thing ever. But in Brazil, they have a way to describe when you're like requesting something from somebody, but then there's like, if you're sending somebody to do something, like you're telling them. And that's what my son does. He likes to, ele gosta de mandar, tipo, he likes to order me around. That's what he does. He's just, yeah, I don't know where he got that from, but this is what we're basically slaves in this house, everybody, including his older brother. And he was laying on the carpet and he looks up at me and he's like, "Dad, Dad." And I was like, "No, I'm not picking you up right now, because I'm trying to eat and I'm trying to work. I can't pick you up right now. Plus, my back's hurting. I've been carrying you all day." And he stares at me still. And he goes, "Dad, Dad." And he's locked eyes with me now, y'all. I'm nervous at this point. I'm nervous. Because when he locked eyes with you, that boy, he strikes fear in your soul, because you never know what he's about to do. Sometimes he just screams at the top of his lungs. So I'm like, well, can I please work? Now I'm requesting. I went from like, nah, I'm not picking you up, to now I'm requesting, yo, man, you just a little bit longer. I'll pick you up in a second. This man looks at me for like 3 solid seconds and just screamed at the top of his lungs, "Dad!" And stares at me. I was like, oh, Okay, so this is where we're at now. So yeah, it's been a whole bunch of that all week, actually. Once he figured out like that I would respond to that, he has started weaponizing it. Yep, immediately. I'm like, this is crazy. I don't know whether to be proud or upset, but I'll tell you what I am. I am tired because he calls me a lot and he's very specific about his requests. So it's been a wild week, dog. Literally, just out of nowhere, he'll call me. He'll just be like, "Dad," and if I don't come, he starts screaming. Like I said, I don't know whether to be impressed or saddened, but at least I know he's on the right track. That's a smart little boy. I'm proud of him. So, with that being said, I tell you who I'm not proud of. She's a petulant child, so we're still talking about a kid, but AOC. AOC has been on, I can't even call it a war path, because like that insinuates that she's actually has some chance of winning this rhetorical war between her and Jill Stein, because she doesn't have a chance, and it's becoming more and more obvious. During this interview with the Breakfast Club, we're going to talk about this part first. During this interview with the Breakfast Club, they covered a lot of things, but at one point, of course, the conversation that AOC had on Instagram Live was brought up, and the talking points that AOC were brought up, and Jill Stein had a response to it. So we're going to look at that clip. We can't look at all the clips from the interview because, like I said, they will likely ban me, because one time I covered a lot of one Breakfast Club interview, and they hit me with a copyright. So I don't want to do that. But what we are going to do is check out this clip and then the response. Let me know if y'all can hear it. Oh, hold on. Maybe I should actually click on the sound, right?
Win some election.
And it is the talking point of AOC the other day, who is taking
guys
her
hear it or no?
marching orders from the DNC. This is exactly what
It
they
is
say,
amazing
that
to
we are
hear you
only
talk
running
about
for
women
president.
of color as parroting talking points instead of us looking at basic math. The one thing that AOC has done that you haven't is win some elections.
Cool.
And it is the talking point of AOC the other day, who is taking her marching orders from the DNC. This is exactly what
It
they
is
say,
amazing
that
to
we are
hear you
only
talk
running
about
for
women
president.
of color as parroting
So
talking
first, hold on.
points instead of us looking at basic
Yeah,
math.
I'm
The
gonna
one
let you
thing that
hear it
AOC
again.
has done
I
that
need
you
y'all to see her whole
haven't is win
attitude.
some elections.
First of all, why are you defending AOC like y'all best friends? Her whole demeanor, her whole attitude and disposition just screams like, why are you attacking my friend? First of all, Jill Stein has actually won an election. She's won a local election. So there's that. Just want to be clear. Second of all, the Green Party has won local and state elections. So like that's a dumb argument. And they have a state senator right now, actually, in New York, of all places, which is kind of crazy. Which is kind of what makes it even funnier that AOC didn't know that, right? But Angela Rye saying that AOC has done something that Jill Stein hasn't, which is won an election. She's saying it like it's some kind of flex. Even AOC herself in her response says nobody needs talking points to know Jill Stein hasn't won so much as a bingo game in the last decade. And if you actually gave a damn about people, you organize, build power, infrastructure, and win. Ladies and gentlemen, what has AOC done to organize, build power and infrastructure and or win? Anybody got the answer to that question? Hey, I'm dead ass serious. Hell, the little bit of a squad that she supposedly, it wasn't even really, people give her credit for the squad, but like really that was built off of the back of Bernie Sanders movement. It was really built off of our fucking backs of independent media, promoting them, helping them fundraise and doing everything we can to help get them elected at the time. Okay, so if I'm gonna be really frank about it, but like, what has AOC actually done? Because for people who don't know, and I'm not talking from this is experience. This isn't like, oh, I'm speculating because she used to do some work for the Green Party. I'm telling you what I know. AOC didn't win shit. AOC's main campaign staff members, like the people who helped her win, the people who helped her strategize, the people who helped make her platform were Green Party people that she had met while she was doing work for the Green Party. A Green Party that was capitalizing at the time from Jill's record-breaking fundraising and Green Party registrations from what she did in 2016. AOC, amongst liberals, popularized the brand of the Green New Deal. She got the Green New Deal from the damn Green Party. It's in the name. It was such a big deal and it was so popular that like when she took it down from her platform off the website for like a day, this is because we're talking about the real Green New Deal, not this bullshit that they're putting out nowadays. Okay, we're not talking about the Fourth Industrial Revolution Green New Deal. We're talking about the actual Green New Deal. It was so popular that when she removed it from her platform, it almost damn near caused her to lose the general election. People were so pissed. They flipped on her like that because of how popular it was. That wasn't because of AOC. That was because of the Green Party and Jill Stein. Her campaign manager is Green Party. She made an exception for AOC. Look at her name is VG, in case y'all curious. That's her name. We're still friends on Facebook. She was awesome, amazing woman, great strategist. Green Party. She used Green Party foot soldiers, Green Party platform to get elected. And that movement, that energy that she benefited from came from Jill Stein. But let's just say, okay, Jill Stein hasn't won a presidential election. Is that some type of flex? It's a flex to brag about how your party rigs elections? Angela, it's a flex to talk about how the party that you're fucking tap dancing for rigs elections and undermines democracies and removes the people's ability to vote their own candidates in. Why isn't Jill Stein on the debate stage? Hell, why wasn't RFK on the debate stage? RFK actually met the qualifications, all the qualifications that they've used to keep Jill Stein and even the Libertarian Party off the debate stage in the past. RFK achieved all those. He met every metric and then they invented more. And both parties were okay with it, including Angela's party, including AOC's party. Is that supposed to be a flex? Is that supposed to be like, I gotcha? You haven't won because nobody's been able to see you. Because we've been stopping you from being seen. With our disproportionate amount of power to influence the media and the government at both the national and the local levels. So you are partaking in fascism and your party is facilitating fascism and you think that that is something to brag about. First, like, is that what we're doing? Because it isn't. Because when the Green Party has fair elections, they win a lot. They have over 150 something like right now. Right now. And in other countries, they're even more successful. Right? Okay. So it's not a flex to brag about how your party, likes to rig elections. Right now, they're trying to take her off the ballot in multiple states. Right now, they're blocking the funds that are supposed to be matched by the government. That is not a flex. In fact, the real question is, why aren't people like Angela and AOC calling out their party? Because from what I have been told, it's actually Donald Trump who's a threat to democracy. Even though we just watched the Democratic Party rig a primary in favor of one candidate and then replace that motherfucking candidate with the coup and then put somebody in who is literally the most unpopular VP in history and didn't even make it to an election the last primary. But AOC, if you're gonna say that somebody, you know, like you're gonna talk about winning, right? Let's just talk about winning, right? Because AOC is bragging because she won one election like she could be primary, but they're not gonna primary because she's playing ball. So I only give her credit for the one election because you're not running against anybody and you're in a blue district. Okay? You didn't win that election. Nor did you gain your popularity. The first interview that you did that was decent, I gave you the talking points for it. The CNN interview where they kept bombarding her, how you gonna pay for healthcare, Medicare for her, how you gonna pay? Yeah, I gave her the talking points for that. I did. That was me. She's a fucking dumb-ass Barbie doll that they had to push over the finish line. Then when you got to Congress, we still got an APB out on AOC. She ain't won shit but some book deals and some tickets to the Met Gala. You talk about winning like you've been victorious. And in politics, winning and victory are not the same thing, at least for people who actually give a shit. You are not victorious, AOC. You are literally one of the most ineffective Congress people that is currently in office. That's not hyperbole. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. I think Nick posted it. Yeah, there you go. That's my guy Nick. AOC amongst most ineffective lawmakers in Congress, according to study. So because you won an election off of the backs of, oh, by the way, just in case anybody's curious, she tossed everybody that helped her win. I don't know if y'all know that. I'm not even talking about Chakrabarti, her old chief of staff. I'm not even talking about him. Like the people who actually helped her win the primary, she tossed after promising to keep them around. Why this whole Green Party shit is even crazier to me, because I'm like, no. You out of all people, I don't know about Ilhan Omar. I don't know about Rashida Tlaib. I don't know about them. I know personally for her, the Green Party made her. We wouldn't know who she is if the Green Party juggernauts and campaign brains in New York didn't put AOC together. But you got to Congress. Okay, you couldn't do anything because the Republicans were in power. Okay, and then when Biden won, what did you do? What has she done? You had the House Democrats. You had the Senate full of Democrats. Y'all had the majority. Hell, you could have at least challenged Biden in both votes, legislation, and verbiage, and we would have more respect for you. Because you had the platform and the microphone to bring attention to issues that otherwise would go undiscussed and have been undiscussed. But you ain't done shit. So yeah, I guess you won an election and you got a paycheck, I guess. But you're a part of Congress the same way that the Detroit Lions until very, very recently, last year, have been a part of the NFL. Are y'all a professional football team? Technically. Do y'all play every Sunday? Yeah, I guess. Right? They throw a football, somebody catches it, there is a defense. People do get paid paychecks to show up. But you ain't did shit since you been there. You're like the Detroit Lions of fucking Congress, except for you ain't gonna turn your franchise around. Because you know what they did? They had to completely uproot their entire ownership group. That's what they did to turn theirs around. So it's not even the same Detroit Lions. So AOC ain't about to give shit up. She ain't gonna give her district up. But that's the only metaphor I could think of for AOC. Like, yeah, technically you're part of Congress, but what the fuck does that mean? I got more respect for Thomas Massey than AOC. I got more respect for Thomas Massey than AOC. Thomas Massey has drawn so much attention to things that we would like. Remember the CARES Act? He was the one who was calling out Congress people. He was the one screaming out nay. Not AOC, who voted on a bill that was like 1,000 fucking pages that got passed to her, and she screamed out yay in 2 minutes. Are you kidding me? And for Angela to be like, oh, one thing she knows about is winning. No, AOC, personally, Angela, doesn't know a goddamn thing about winning. She had a green machine behind her. And then independent media boosted her. And it was just effectively to prove that the policies that we advocate for, universal health care, protecting the environment, anti-war movement, pro-Palestine movements, the policies that we advocate for are actually popular. That was the whole goal. And we proved that. And AOC, because she has stopped advocating for said policies, is now more unpopular than she's ever been. Come on, bro. It is bizarre to me that AOC, like, oh my God, you're, how dare you accuse a woman of color for echoing? What the fuck is her being? Yeah, Angela, like, you're a Democrat, right? So you should know. You should know better probably than anybody. She's a woman of color in the Democratic Party. Of course she's echoing Democratic Party talking points. It's what they do, because that's what everybody in the Democratic fucking Party does. It doesn't matter what your color is. You're going to echo what they tell you to say. This is the party that just this is the same party, y'all, that ran a primary. Like they ran a rainbow primary is what I like to call it, because they were like, let's figure out what race or ethnicity is going to play better. And we're going to try to use that against Trump. They thought that this was, bro, they had Beto O'Rourke speaking Spanish like his man was Latino. Like, y'all remember how bad it was? They was competing with each other on stage to see who spoke the most Spanish. That shit was fucking embarrassing. But they all started echoing the same talking points as Bernie Sanders, and they all flipped the script the moment the election was over. Why? Because that was the marching orders. But by the end of the rainbow primary, guess who ends up winning anyway? The goddamn segregationists, guys. What are you talking about, Angela? How dare a woman of color? This Kamala accused Biden of being a racist. No, excuse me. Kamala accused Biden of being a segregationist on fucking stage, and then turned into his VP puppy. Yeah, that's what they do. I don't give a damn if AOC is a woman of color. What? How dare you accuse a woman of color? How dare you accuse a woman of color? What the fuck does her being a woman of color have to do with the talking points? Unless you mean to say that her being a woman of color makes them more liable to try and use her to lie to other people of color. Because, I mean, yeah, that's true too. So that's the only thing I can think of. But AOC's response to that is just the wildest shit to me. And it's probably just because of what I know about AOC, what I know about the people who helped her win. And there's a few other people in independent media who know. Ask the Convo Couch. If you get a chance to catch them on live stream, send them a super chat about AOC and her team and how she treated them after the election. How people were DMing us, scared because they knew that if they criticized AOC openly, they would be shut down. And AOC knows this. It's probably why she's taking everything so personally, because the Green Party made her. And so now because she's getting exposed by the same Green Party, she don't like it, right? But also, Angela, it's probably important to mention, you know who else are women of color? the Palestinians that your candidate is perfectly fine with bombing. The Palestinians in the genocide that AOC is willfully ignoring in order to uplift Kamala too. And we know why their genocide is being ignored and allowed to be ignored. We know that. For the same reason that Belgium's genocide and Holocaust in the Congo is allowed to be ignored, even though it happened in the same century as the Jewish Holocaust. If you want to talk about women of color. So don't feign like outrage because, oh my God, women, how dare you insult women of color? Bitch, how dare you endorse a candidate who is about to send more bombs to kill women of color? How about we answer that question? How about we answer that? Let's check out some of the other clips.
Have an impact, and was the question that was raised there was, did Russian social media have an impact, and was I a beneficiary of that? And the Senate.
But they said you repeatedly parroted Kremlin views and posted a campaign
you know
video
what they
from
consider
Moscow's
a
Red
Kremlin
Square.
view? They consider reparations a Kremlin view.
Oh.
They consider
They do.
the civil rights movement actually a Kremlin view. They consider racial disparities a Kremlin view. So these are Department of Defense talking points, and these are unfortunately the DNC talking points as well, which repeatedly tries to smear me as a Russian agent,
They called you a useful idiot.
Yes, and this has been very specifically
Let's just be blunt about that.
found lacking. And the report.
Oh man, I just look at his face. Look at Charlamagne's face. Like, oh shit. I wasn't really expecting her to have a response for that. Like almost like he's like waiting for somebody to. It's like, Angela, jump in, bro. Y'all know this ain't my wheelhouse. I'm just here to do what the Democrats tell me to do. He was not prepared for that. He was not at all prepared.
Get this. The report that was initially used to supposedly show that Russians had a social media campaign supporting me, that was written by a cybersecurity firm called the New Knowledge Corporation. New Knowledge had to disband shortly after publishing that because they were exposed for conducting an interference campaign themselves in the 2017 Senate election in Alabama. And how did they do that? They pretended to be a Russian influence campaign on social media. So they did exactly what they have accused the Russians of doing. They actually did, and put it under the false guise of being a Russian interference campaign.
Boy, look. Y'all, look. But when I tell y'all she hit him, those were haymakers. She said, oh, we're going to talk about, because she's not just talking about, when she talks about reparations is a Russian bot talking point, or what they call a Russian talking point, right? A Putin point, a Kremlin talking point. She's not talking about right now. I mean, yeah, right now they're saying that, but what's even crazier is that this is historically, this is during the era of the Black Panthers and the Civil Rights Movement, which they also said, if you were associated with the Civil Rights Movement, what were they calling you? A communist, but not because of your political views. It had nothing to do with that. It wasn't like you actually believe in communism. It's just like, if you actually believe that the world should be desegregated, you must be working for the Russians, and therefore we have to spy on you. Therefore, we have to assassinate you even. We have to smear you. And what's probably the wildest thing about that interaction specifically is like, why is Jill having to educate Charlamagne Tha God on this? Bro, you the black man with the platform. You the black man that wants to be all over political talk shows, CNN. You the celebrity analyst all of a sudden. Like, you understand what's going on in the world. Like you understand the history of politics or what's happening right now. Why does Jill Stein, no, don't get me wrong, Jill Stein's a very educated woman, I know. Jill, if there was ever a woman to have to educate somebody on this, it would be Jill Stein. But my point is, why did it have to be Jill Stein? You were sitting on, bruh, y'all know Angela Rye is an attorney. Angela Rye was an advisor for the Congressional Black Caucus. So yeah, she's fully aware of how the Democrats work in unison with the liberal white Democrats to fuck us over. She's fully aware of all that. But more importantly, Angela Rye is somebody who claims to be a history expert, right? Especially when it comes to Black history and how the government has oppressed us. So why the hell is Jill Stein having to explain to Charlamagne Tha God, a Black man with a platform, that all Black issues, anytime a Black person or Black people or a Black group or a Black liberation movement try to speak up, they just called us communists, labeled us domestic terrorists, and handle their business? Why is Jill Stein having to explain that? It's true. But why is she having to explain? Like Charlamagne's face, he didn't even pretend like he knew that was happening. He didn't even, he was like, "Ooh, shit, I didn't know that." Like, damn, Angela, help me out here. What's going on? But that's facts. Hell, even Angela believes that. Oh, let me see if I can. I'm gonna find this tweet from Savvy, because even Angela traffics in that rhetoric. Oh, there we go. Y'all see this? This is from Angela Rye herself. Black critics of Kamala Harris and Cory Booker push back against claims that they're Russian bots. Angela Rye and Joy Reid have speculated that American descendants of slaves using hashtags ADOS to critique Harris and Booker are Russian bots. Or perhaps, maybe, they're just people who believe that they are entitled to reparations like the many other groups that have gotten them from America. But yeah, that's Angela Rye. Yeah, that's saying Angela Rye that got her little black fist up in the profile picture. Let me see if I can pull it up. If she ain't blocked me yet, because you know that's probably coming soon. Bro, boy, this is some audacity. This is some audacity to tap dance like this for the Democratic Party, to tap dance like this for Kamala. It's wild to me that she worked for the CBC and everybody and their mama knows how the CBC has been fucking over Black people since the 90s. But she was part of it during 112 Congress, so that would be what, 2011, 2012? Something like that. In other words, it was under Obama. So she saw everything that was coming through there. And she kept her mouth shut and got rewarded with the CNN job shortly after, until 2020. That's how she shows black power, Black liberation. How dare you claim a woman of color is trafficking talking points? Like, what do you mean? And she could say the same thing about you and it would literally be true. I don't know what Angela Rye has done to be famous. But just like with mediocre white guys that become famous, if you're a mediocre Black woman who's willing to play the game, if you're a mediocre woman of color who's willing to play the game, say good things are good, bad things are bad, and feign outrage, you can too be as famous as Angela Rye and Charlamagne Tha God. Oh, but there's more. Because Butch Ware took it to him too. I really like Butch Ware, bro. I really like that dude. He followed me on Instagram the other day. Shout out to Butch. This was a great, if you couldn't get a Jamu, this was the guy to get. If you couldn't get a Jamu to be VP, again, this was the guy to get, for sure.
Speeding us towards a kind of societal collapse, right? And
fascism.
Exactly.
I don't want that.
Right. No.
I don't want that.
But the thing is that the truth of the matter is that imperialism and fascism are two sides of the same coin. One is the side that faces outwards, and the other is the side that faces inward. And I made a social media post before I got brought onto the team that said it this way: is that whether you vote Team Red or Team Blue, militarized fascism wins, because the AIPAC and the weapons manufacturers are patrons of both networks. And just to return to that point, right? I've been on campuses. I organize
Why does she look so upset? Why does she look so upset? Because he said a factually true thing. The arms industry are patrons of both sides. And she's like, ugh, damn. You know what? How dare you, Angela Rye? How dare you look at a black man with that face as he's educating his audience? How dare you? See how that works? Cuts both ways, don't it? Except for I'm fucking being honest. Like, you actually, the audacity for you to be that mad when he's telling the truth while you celebrate Kamala as she lies to the fucking American public, that's just crazy to me. That's all I'm saying. But, you know, as long as you got a black power fist in your profile picture, it's all good.
Palestinian Liberation Concert on October 21st. I organized a Black and Palestinian Solidarity panel at my local mosque on October 11th, 4 days after. Wow. Like, your brother was not backing down. And the Zionists came for my job within the month, okay? And, you know, a Negro is still standing. So, but the point of all that is just to say that when we launched this campaign to try to actually bring people into this conversation, you see that this is actually where the American people stand. The American people do not.
And let me just say, DJ Envy, his face was hilarious. He's just like, y'all getting work right now. Y'all were not prepared for this, and I'm gonna stay the fuck out. Isn't that what it looked like?
Want this forever war, and they do not want militarized fascists coming to their campuses to crack kids' heads open. I had to stand out in front of the encampment, and that's Democratic governor in California. That's Democrat, mayors in places like New York City. It's Democrats that are running cop cities. So the thing is, bro, fascism is.
Hey, let me just say, you hear it's Democrats that are running cop cities. It's Democrats who are, you know, it's a Democratic governor in New York. It's a Democratic mayor in New York. It's a Democrat. Now, what they like to do is pretend that you are Republican for pointing that out. Because Republicans will bring, they're like, oh man, some of the shittiest countries some of the shittiest cities in the country are ran by Democrats. Guess what? They're right. That's true. Now, some of the reasons that they're putting out there might be a little bit hyperbolized, or they're ignoring certain facts. Or they're using it to their own personal benefit, as if, like, because if you look at a lot of the Republican cities, like, they're shit. So it's like, you can make the same argument. But my point is, when it comes to the issues that most affect the community that the Democrats are claiming they want to uplift, those are happening in democratically ran cities. We getting our asses whooped in democratically ran cities. We're getting gentrified in democratically ran cities. We're getting pulled over at a higher rate in democratically ran cities. We're getting forced out of our apartments in democratically ran cities and states. It's the democratically ran cities that are using routine traffic stops to fund police departments that already have an overly bloated budget, or fund their governments. It was a Democratic election supervisor who cheated Tim Canova in Florida and got fired for it. It's a Democrat who passed the 94 crime bill. The CBC was right there behind him, pushing them over the finish line. Because no great Republican policy has ever gotten passed without a Democrat there to sign off on it. is sell it. But they'll tell you if you mention all that you're a Republican. And I'd be wanting to, because you know, whenever they're getting along with somebody, right? Whenever these interviewers, like on the Breakfast Club, when they're getting along with somebody, they'll go back and forth. They'll weigh in. They'll give their opinions or their objections in whatever case. All of a sudden, they had nothing to say whenever he told the truth about this fascism that's happening, about both parties being the same. They have nothing to say, because if you admit that fact in the middle of an election, well, you know, your talent agency might have something to say about that, and maybe those interviews don't come as often. Maybe those CNN appearances get cut in half. Or maybe they just kick you out the talent agency altogether. Just saying. He's literally telling them, like, yeah, look at what happened as a result of me fighting on behalf of Palestine or organizing on behalf of Palestine. They immediately came from my job. Angela Rye didn't come out and say, how dare they? Palestinian advocates of Palestine, advocates of peace in Palestine, deserve their First Amendment rights. And anybody who says otherwise, anybody who's allowing it, is a problem. Oh, you can't say that. Why? Because where it happened to him was a Democratic city being ran by Democrats under a Democratic president, and a Democrat is running that's paying her bills. So all of a sudden, that women of color, that black man shit, that black power fist shit, that went out the window. She ain't got nothing to say. It's crazy how quick that outrage just disappears. Becky with the good hair. Interesting.
It's already here. It's just that one of it is like fascism and the other is fascism. But the truth is that the purple fascists, the purple imperialists, Team Red and Team Blue are run by the same funders, and who funds you runs you. So there's a discourse about putting off fascism, but the reality is that fascism was already here because we already can't speak freely. We already have people, university presidents, losing their job under democratic regimes. We already have kids that are lining up for peaceful protests, having their head.
Well, she was mad at that little bar he just dropped, wasn't she? Like, damn, that's good. Oh, no, run that one back.
Course about putting off fascism, but the reality is that fascism was already here because we already can't speak freely. We already have people, university presidents, losing their job under democratic regimes. We already have kids that are lining up for peaceful protests, having their heads knocked open, or you have the cops standing to the side at UCLA so the thugs can knock kids' heads open. So I'm sorry, the fear mongering ain't gonna work on me.
Drop mic. I mean, I don't know what else you want to say. Drop mic. Fascism's already here. Who funds you runs you. Boy, Angela was not happy with that. She's like, God damn, that was far ass bar. She looks so mad. But it's true. And hey, look, sometimes your face will tell on you. Because whenever he said, who funds you runs you, and they panned that camera over to Angela, she was like, man, that motherfucker talking about me. And how she looked like, man, he gonna talk about me like that on my show. I don't even know why Angela's there, because first of all, Angela technically she's not even technically a main member of the Breakfast Club. They bring her on when it's time to defend Kamala, generally speaking. Now, she's a regular, but like when it's time to come out and defend Kamala, or in this particular case, attack Jill Stein, or defend AOC, like they brought her on. This interview, if you look at this interview compared to the ones that they've done, it's not the same. It didn't flow the same. But who funds you runs you. That boy Butch Ware dropped a bar, and Angela's face it said it all. Because I'm not gonna lie to y'all, man, it's very, 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 very rare that a true black liberationist, right, a true black independent-minded activist achieves wealth. I'm not saying you can't be successful, because success is defined in very different terms for very different people, but wealth and black liberation don't generally go together. And it's not, by the way, because it isn't a popular concept. It isn't because it isn't marketable. I want to be clear about that. Because it is. Right? Because what these podcasters do for 2.5, about 2 3/4 years is market Black liberation. Is market fighting the empire. They market this stuff. And what happens is whenever elections come, they flip it. So they can't pretend like this stuff isn't popular to discuss, that people don't care about it. It's just that eventually those people become loyal to the brand or the celebrity. And so when that celebrity says, look the other way and ignore it, they unfortunately do so. But what Angela and Kamala and AOC and the Democrats, unfortunately, are experiencing at the moment is that people are tired of looking the other way. They're not about to just look the fuck away because you told them to now. And they can't stand the fact that their celebrity is not enough anymore. That star power is not enough for people to choose to remain ignorant anymore. That's what they're upset about. AOC's like, she keeps talking about winning and winning and winning and winning, but she's not talking about what she's gotten done because respectively, Jill has gotten more done. Jill has organized more. Jill has helped to get candidates elected. Jill has helped the Green Party fund itself and help other candidates fundraise. Jill has helped create platforms. AOC has only benefited from other people's work. That's it. That's literally all she's ever done. She's a parasite. We're still waiting on AOC to do something. Maybe, you know, maybe the next Democratic president, like she, because it's always, it was the, because that's what she waiting. She, you know, she's waiting, bro. I can almost guarantee, like, even though she'll never say it out loud, a lot of Democrats probably feel this way, but even though she'll never say it out loud, she is praying for Trump to win. Because then she gets another solid 4 years of excuses. I wanted to introduce Medicare for all, guys. I wanted to introduce, you know, I wanted to stop funding the IDF. I wanted to stop funding the Iron Dome. I wanted to stop funding cops. I wanted to. But, you know, Trump is in power. She's waiting to have an excuse. This shit, look at this me, y'all. I will end the genocide in Gaza. I will give Black people reparations. I will create multiple Black Wall Streets across the country. I will fight to end disproportionate police brutality against Black people. Angela Rye. Yo, why are you so upset by these? Because she's just exactly what she said. Why are you so upset? Because what's crazy about this is this is all stuff that she supposedly agrees with, but Kamala has not promised to do any of that shit. This is all stuff that she agrees with. And these talking points are not random, convenient, or opportunistic for Jill Stein. These have been her talking points. This is the energy she's had. And she's keeping it. And she's not pandering to anybody. This is who Jill Stein has been. But Kamala doesn't even respect her base enough to even pander anymore, y'all. That's what's crazy. And you still got people like Angela and Charlamagne Tha God. Charlamagne be doing that little tap dance to support her. But we knew that was coming. Even though he came out like, I regret voting for Joe Biden. And you gonna come out and do the same thing if Kamala wins. I regret voting for Kamala. And do the same shit. Vote for the next Democrat. We know. But the Biden thing was a little bit more embarrassing because you let this man tell you you're not Black if you don't vote for him. And that's it. That's all. You just let that shit slide. Interesting. Samani Wellback. That's a nice name. Thanks. Just putting some in the plate. Appreciate you. Thank you very much. Appreciate that super chat. But isn't that like, why is she have this face? Is that not weird to y'all? You would think something like, damn, man, that's what's up. Because she don't really have to promise any of that shit. You don't have to promise any of that. But I guess the problem is she's promising it, and also she's like becoming more popular because of it. Jill and Butch are becoming popular because they're saying the things that everybody expects and wants Kamala to say, but Kamala won't say them. So instead of being upset at Kamala for not representing her base, they're in the country rather, because like what, the majority of the country they don't even like Democrats and Republicans. So that's the crazy shit. And the majority of Democrats agree with this. So instead of just saying what the majority of the country wants, Kamala's like, yeah, nah, but fuck y'all. But vote for me though. And Angela is mad at Jill instead of being mad at Kamala. That's kind of weird, don't you think? Almost like this has nothing to do with actual politics for you. This doesn't have anything to do with uplifting people. This doesn't even have anything to do with this existential threat to democracy that y'all claim Trump is, because he's really not. If Trump had that kind of power, I might actually vote for him. Because he might actually get something changed. I don't know. It's better than a goddamn this fucking train wreck that we're on right now. That somehow just staying on the tracks. It's a train wreck that stays on the tracks and keeps going. I don't even know how that's even possible, but we've managed to do it. That's the power of the duopoly, I guess. But if Trump had that kind of power, he would still be in office. I promise you. He don't got that kind of power to be an existential threat to democracy. But you know who does? The Democrats. You know how I know? Because I fucking sued them. I sued them and watched them argue in court that they have the power to undermine democracy. But you want to be mad at Jill for supporting the policies that you support. That's just some weird shit to me. Oh, this clip right here. Another Angela Salty clip.
And this is the framing of the empire and the oligarchy and white supremacy and colonialism, which wants you to feel that resistance is futile. This is about voter blaming and voter shaming.
Let me just no. What you're not going to say is that I'm ever parroting anything at the hands of white supremacy.
What you mean? That's what you did, though. That's what you do. By the way, the interview with a lot of them every time, y'all know when I do my debates, and I'm trying to have a discussion, and I'm trying to get to my point. Anybody who's watched me long enough knows, usually I'm like bringing all these things together, and then when I'm about to get to my conclusion, and they know like, oh shit, he's about to trap me in the box, they just cut me off. All that shit just pisses me off, guys. It does. They did that basically, the whole interview to Jill and Butch, Angela specifically. But Joe was right. What you mean? I mean, you already know how I feel. The majority of Western policy is actually rooted in Nazism, which is effectively a form of white supremacy. What I always say, Hitler died. That does not mean Nazism lost. It's not the same thing. The people who paid the Nazis, the people who supported them, hell, the people from the literal Third Reich, they remained in power. They got moved, got their names changed in the U.S. Like I always say, they always say Operation Paperclip because the Nazis switched sides. Motherfucker, no. Operation Paperclip was them returning home. They were going back to their bosses. Switching sides assumes that they were on that side the entire time. It assumes that they weren't working for us the entire time. If anything, we know from history, the U.S. supports tyrants. We don't overthrow them. until they serve their use to us. And then we just take over the infrastructure and take out the garbage, who is the figurehead at the time. That's it. But yeah, Angela, you definitely traffic in white supremacist talking points. You do. Or at the very least, you do the work of white supremacists. I feel like Israel, at least the powers that be in Israel, are probably the most obvious example of white supremacy. I mean, the leadership of Israel might actually be worse than the KKK. I'm damn near there. I can't, cause like, shit, when you literally make a celebrity out of a rapist, I don't know how else to describe you. I don't know how you can't be, because you're already white supremacist. You already sterilize other Jewish black people. You already treat Jewish Arabs as less than. God forbid they're Muslim and Palestinian. But you already treat everybody else in your own community like shit if they're not Ashkenazi white Jews. You ignore the death and the slaughter of your own Jewish brothers and sisters in Africa because they're not Ashkenazi white Jews, while choosing to focus on something that you think might happen. Not even that, like, they don't even talk about the actual Holocaust anymore. They're just like, man, they might kill all of us. They might do it. Oh, well, but has it happened? No, but they might, and you should pay more attention because we're white and it matters more. And you know what? We're going to tell Kamala when she gets in power, she's going to do exactly what the fuck we say. And guess what all of her little talking heads like Angela are going to do? They're going to tell y'all to shut up. Because the Black Panthers were behind the Palestinian Liberation Movement. MLK supported the Palestinian Liberation Movement. Obviously, Malcolm X, Fred Hampton, the Uhurus, Jamu Baraka, he was on a show talking about his experience there. Yeah. Black liberation in Palestine is like, it goes hand in hand. It's like the Black liberation movement in the States and the apartheid, or the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa. It's like this. The experience are almost parallel, and the support has been parallel. But Angela would tell you to shut up and stop talking about it if it means Kamala can't get elected. And what's crazy is, if I'm remembering correctly, Angela actually had some criticisms of Biden. She had some genuine criticisms of Biden. And even though Kamala has promised to do literally the exact same thing, she's like, yeah, but it's different now. Why? Well, because Kamala is black. We're going to throw some quotations there. So it's different. How dare you? Nah. Because what's funny is, she trafficked in the talking points and Jill called her out and called them out. And she's like, no, I don't. No, what we're telling you is, yes, you do. Yes, you do. I tweeted today. I said, imagine in 2024, still being a member of the Democratic or Republican parties as a black person. I can't. I literally cannot even bring myself to think about considering registering for either of those fucking parties. I don't even got to read history of 100 years. I can just read the history of the last 25, and that's more than enough. But sorry, Angela, I don't got a black power fist in my profile picture, so I guess that means I'm, not cool enough for the cool color kids. I don't know. You know more than us. You must know more than Jill and Butch because, you got a black power fist in your profile picture. Yeah, you do traffic in white supremacist talking points. You do. Maybe you didn't know. Who knows? That is a possibility. Because y'all know how I feel about, as a person who's experienced higher education. I would say I benefited from higher education because I went into higher education knowing what I wanted to learn and get from it. So that's, if you are going to experience higher education, that's how I would suggest going about doing so. Because to some degree, there is a level of indoctrination depending on where, you know, who you get as a professor, etc. And my experience is people who come from higher education are some of the dumbest fucking people you will meet in your life. Because the truth is, the higher up you go in your education, the more focused your concentration gets, the more focused you become on a subject. Because that's the goal, right? To get a doctorate, you have to write about a very, very, very specific subject. To get a master's, you have to write about a very, very, very specific subject. And that becomes your focus and that becomes what you're known for. But then they treat you as if you are this maestro of general topics regarding the subject, which generally speaking is not the case most times. And you become so focused over a certain number of years on one subject that the other things are in your purview, but you don't really know a lot about them unless you go and make the effort to do so. But that's usually not what they're paying you to know about. They're paying you to know about that thing you wrote your doctoral thesis on. And then they become so wrapped up in the, I only respect people who are quoting this academic that I respect. I only respect people who are quoting this academic that I respect because they become friends and colleagues and they help each other. Like, it's a circle jerk a lot of the times. That's why sometimes even science doesn't evolve to the degree that it should. Because even that's a circle jerk at times. When they should be competing with each other, they're staying within limitations that are put on them because they don't want to, somebody's jealous and doesn't want them to pass them in notoriety, or the government. The government tells y'all, no, you're sciencing too fast, guys. I need you to slow down that cancer research. I was at UNC, guys, so we had one professor from UNC and one professor from Duke win the Nobel Peace Prize together because they discovered a cure for cancer. And it was a big deal because, you know, UNC and Duke don't like each other, but it was like one of those things, like there's like a tribute to how great the schools are individually, and how important Research Triangle Park is. And yeah, they just shelved it. We didn't hear anything about that shit since. They literally discovered a cure for cancer. It was a big ass deal at my school. All my professors were talking about it. We talked about it in class. It was like a little celebration. Yeah, it didn't matter. So academics, you know, the ones who do their jobs usually are not respected to the degree that they should be. And the ones who become famous are dumb as shit. Just saying. I think we got a super chat that I missed. Christian 999, what's going on, my man? Niko, what's up? I got 5 on it. Just some food for thought. Time Magazine's 1938 front page man of the year, Adolf Hitler. Ain't that some shit? Yeah, I've talked about that before. And that's not I think that's only one. I think he's been on the cover of Time Magazine more than once. That's some crazy shit. And you should see, if you, guys, whenever y'all get a chance, I've covered this before, but I can't cover it while I'm doing YouTube because the last time I covered it while doing YouTube, it was a problem. I did a deep dive into the articles of, I did a deep dive into a lot of the articles about Hitler at the time and about Germany. And like, for example, the Olympics, I was always just perturbed and confused as to how the Olympics were allowed to happen in what is it, Belgium? Not Belgium, excuse me, Berlin, given who Hitler was. Because I thought maybe they didn't have any clue at that point. And it turns out that obviously isn't true. We know that. Like, the only reason Jesse Owens was allowed to run was because the Jews weren't allowed to run. And he was like, well, after 5 people were knocked down, he's the alternate that was left. That was how that happened. But even more importantly, if you look at how our government was capitulating to him, how our media was writing about him, it's even scarier. It's scary because, like, y'all knew and y'all just were ignoring this shit. Y'all knew and were ignoring this shit. Oh, excuse me, not ignoring it, hiding it. Y'all knew he was violating the Treaty of Versailles. the treaty of Versailles that was supposed to limit Germany from growing into the superpower that it became again under Hitler, they knew and they were hiding. And if you go, it's just when you get some time, I would probably recommend not using Google to do so. But yeah, no, it's crazy. They knew for years who Hitler was and chose to ignore it. So when I say that our policy in the US and in the West in general is foundationalized in Nazism, that is not hyperbole. Hitler became that powerful because of companies like GE, GM, Ford, who sued. They sued when the US bombed their Nazi subsidiaries, and they won the lawsuit. So if that's the case, how were they allowed to do that? It's because the US government allowed them to have Nazi subsidiaries. That's the only explanation. And if that's the case, that would also explain why the US government was so easily able to persuade them in Operation Paperclip. And also able to move people around the world and change their names. Not just the US, but their allies, because they did it in Canada too. Hell, Ukraine, y'all know about that at this point. So that's just some important history to understand when we're like, because to get an understanding of why our policy looks the way it does, it's like, damn, if a country looks like they're moving in the direction of socialism or communism in 98% of cases, like in the global South, I mean, then the US comes after them with the largest hammer they can find and starts committing a bloodbath. But then it's like when you look at the socialism in Western Europe, in Scandinavia, they're like, wow, man, we could really learn a lot from them. It's like, hold up, what? I'm confused. What's the difference? Oh, there's a lot of differences. One being in Scandinavia is white. Western Europe is principally and primarily white or ran by white people. And the socialism and communism in the global South is very clear that they are trying to uplift the oppressed. Not only because it's not just communism in a bubble that they get worried about, guys. People got to remember that. It's communism. Yeah, it's socialism. Because it's a direct competition for capitalism in its current form. But it's really what happens next. Because if you become a powerful communist country, right? Let's just say that you end up having the ability to turn all that oil, all that lithium, all those minerals into cash. You can now fund anti-imperialist movements all over the world. That is the problem. The US can't control anything. The West can't control anything. And they're fighting against people whose very specific goal is to use their power to fight oppression. That is a problem for a country and an elite class that traffics in oppression, don't you think? That's it. There was something else that I want to show you. Let me go to my bookmarks. Oh, anyway. So my that's what I wanted to show y'all. The comment section. Woo! Give me a second. Let me pull this up for y'all. Yo. The Overton window is shifting, y'all. The Overton window is shifting. First of all, I want y'all to know they only gave her about an hour, which I think is less than what they gave Kamala, if I'm not mistaken. Is less than what they usually give celebrities. Look at this comment section. Oh, let me pull it up for y'all. I didn't share the screen. My apologies. Y'all can see that, right? Let me zoom in. Okay. Top comment off rip. Imperialism and fascism are two sides of the same coin. One faces outward, one faces inwards. This was a gem. Yeah, that was the one that had Angela's face like she just had some sour candy. Angela is a perfect example that academic success does not equate to common sense. Ooh. Ooh. Oh man, how dare a black woman say that about another black woman? As Angela would say. What's she gonna say now? She gonna complain about it? It wasn't supposed to be a debate. It was supposed to be an ambush, and you failed, bro. Nobody called you a white supremacist, Angela. Stop trying to find a victim cop-out. She said you were parroting those same talking points, which you were. Yo, going in on these people. Angela Rye was unnecessarily salty. She tried to crap on Jill Stein and would get triggered when Jill clapped back. Hold on, I think I rock with Jill Stein. She handled this interview with a hostile host very well, and she spoke in depth about her policies and views. Guess I'm Green Party now, and that's why they're so pissed. There you go. That's why they are so mad. Because you're seeing this more and more and more. Y'all, I wasn't even going to come out and like specifically support a candidate this election. Like, I'm like, yeah, I talk about who I like and who I don't like. But like, partially because I'm just so pissed at Kamala and the Democrats and the Republicans and even Trump. Like, I'm just so pissed at all of it. And then I'm seeing the way that they're gunning for Jill Stein. And then I found out that they actually tried to use the government to bankrupt her. That shit pissed me off. That was like, yeah, that's probably my red line. But then to pick Butch Ware, and then the way she's been handling herself, it's like, well, I guess we're back in the game. But we know why we're playing it. Like somebody said on Instagram today, I saw a comment that was beautiful. They said, actually, it was Amanda Seales. It was Amanda Seales who said it, the celebrity who they also went after. She said, when are they going to learn that we're not concerned about winning? Like that's not the goal. Like we're like winning elections is what she said. Like winning elections is not the goal. It's like actually having a victory. It's like actually winning for the people. You getting a paycheck, like all these people donating money for you to get a lifetime paycheck is not the fucking goal. That is not how we define victory. It is not furthering any agenda. These comments are why they're so pissed. Because despite all of their efforts, even this one, which was to clearly bombard Jill, this was supposed to make Jill Stein and Butch Ware look discombobulated, unorganized, and uneducated, and not ready for the moment. And it turned out they flipped the script on her ass. I mean, for Kamala to lose half of her Muslim support to Jill Stein is insane. And also I'm thinking to myself like, yo, black people, what's good? Like, I need y'all to catch up, honestly. Because that's crazy that only Kamala, right? Only Kamala in 2 elections could lose the majority of a minority vote in days from a few comments. But she managed to do it twice. Last time she lost almost all the black vote in a matter of a week after debate, after dominating it. And then now she's lost half, probably more than half now, of the Muslim vote in days. But this time she lost from Jill Stein in the Green Party. If Jill wasn't a threat, y'all wouldn't be on her neck. If she wasn't a threat, y'all wouldn't be on her neck. Y'all are not on Claudia's neck like this. Y'all aren't even on Cornel West's neck like this. Why are y'all on Jill Stein's neck? Why are y'all worried about the Green Party specifically? Why did AOC have to mention Jill Stein? Oh, because she probably got marching orders. But instead of just, instead of doing research before that's the problem. AOC be getting marching orders from the Democratic Party, and she just takes to Instagram Live and starts to talk before she actually does her research on what she's supposed to say. But like, why? You didn't get marching orders about Cornel West? Why not? Because at this juncture, they don't consider Dr. West a threat. But they do consider Jill a threat. You don't fake an entire investigative committee hearing to bankrupt a candidate because you don't consider them a threat. If they were irrelevant, you would just leave them the hell alone and let them fade into the darkness. That's how it usually works in politics. But she's not irrelevant. And they were terrified she was going to carry her momentum. And you would have thought that momentum would have been lost after her hiatus that was forced on her by the Democratic Party and the Republican Party to some degree. And it didn't. Her momentum is probably stronger now than it's been. And because of, once again, not only how good of a candidate she is, but how horrible of a candidate that y'all put up, she's probably going to do better this time. And the truth is, what we do got to be prepared for is the consequences of her doing better. That is truth. I hope that she doesn't suffer in silence like she did last time, because she didn't want to make her problems everybody's problem, because she's, just was taking responsibility for her deciding to run and what came with it. But I hope that this time she tells us and lets us know, like, this is what's happening. This is how they're going after me, so that we can get behind her. Because we know now that the government is willing to literally try and end her livelihood for her being successful as a third-party candidate. So that's something we're going to have to look out for, because she's doing way better than we would expect her to do at this point. Kamala's doing worse. They thought whenever RFK dropped that it would be beneficial for the Democratic Party, that they thought they could win some of these lawsuits against Jill Stein, or at least get her to spend all her money fighting to get on these ballots or remain on these ballots as the Democrats try to take her off. It's not working. Nothing is working. They thought they could send AOC after her, but they forgot. Like, AOC can't even keep her goddamn squad together. How's she gonna send leftists after someone? No, leftists don't like her anymore. Not the real ones. We don't like her. So I don't know what y'all thought that was gonna do. You just took somebody who has a ridiculously popular platform, arguably for zero real reason, just zero merit to that, but she has one of the largest platforms in the country. All you did was take somebody who's an idiot and have her scream Jill Stein's name. That's it. And make her more popular. Congratulations, Democrats. That's some brilliant strategizing. That is some brilliant political strategy, you fucking morons. Let's check out a couple of super chats, then we're going to talk about the debate. Jen Debs fan, thank you very much for the super chat. McCormick Dickstein and HUAC committee. What's that? Human, I don't remember which one it is. But look at the leadership, almost exclusively blue party of workers, traitors. Yup, that's it. That's, like I say, yo. When you look at not just that, but like Angela, Angela, AOC, Kamala. The truth is, it makes sense that they're the party of the jackasses. It really, really does. Like, when you think about it, it's kind of crazy that they haven't changed that logo yet. But then also, why would you change it when it's so representative of who the fuck y'all are? Y'all are a party of jackasses who make dumbass decisions. That's about it. Makes sense, 100%. Lana, thank you very much for the super chat. Exactly. I hadn't decided which third party candidate to vote for till it became obvious they clearly see Jill and Butch as the biggest threat. Right? That's what a lot of people have said. A lot of people on Instagram have been back and forth between, between Claudia, Cornel West, and Jill. And there's justification for all three that you can make. Because a lot of them have only recently left the Democratic Party. So they just didn't know who they liked more. Or they were just like basing it off of who they see more often. It wasn't until recently that they started seeing Jill more often. The reason why is because AOC attacked her, and then all of us had to come and educate AOC, and everybody wanted to know why Jill was the one that she went after. Right? Why not Dr. West? Why not Claudia? And why are you making up lies? Because it wasn't just the fact that AOC attacked her. She lied about Jill Stein in the most obvious ways. It was stupid. Like, why the fuck would you lie and say that Jill hasn't done anything to help organize whenever the numbers are there? We already know this. Why would you say that the Green Party doesn't run state or local candidates when you've campaigned for a local candidate for the Green Party? So there's that problem. But then also, you have a state legislator in New York who's a Green Party member. And just beyond that, they have over 100. There's 150. Actually, I think, what is it, like 170? Somebody find that number for me. But they have like at least 150, I want to say, right now that are in office. And then to say that Jill Stein ran 12 years in a row, like ran this year, ran last time, and ran in 2016. Like, why? You just like, all you did was just told the world, yep, it's Jill now who we consider to be the biggest threat to the Democratic Party. That's all you did. That's all that they achieved. It was a dumb strategy. But it also could possibly mean that they did like a cost benefit analysis and they realized, like, even if we don't send AOC, Jill Stein, for some reason, is becoming more and more popular, and we have to nip it in the bud now. They might have did a cost-benefit analysis on that shit and was like, she's already becoming more popular, so there's not really anything we can do about it. The least we can do is try to send AOC after her. But sending AOC to do a job is like sending AOC to do a job. AOC ain't did a day of goddamn work since she's been in Congress. Why would y'all think that she's competent enough to carry this out? Who has AOC uplifted with any level of success or saved with her political savvy? Like I said, her squad, where they haven't been ousted, they don't fuck with her anymore. There is no more squad. You couldn't even save Jamal Bowman in your own city. I'm gonna repeat that. Your squad member, you, AOC, couldn't even save Jamal Bowman in your own city. Not your district, but your city. Hell, one can make an argument that if that was Bernie Sanders, even with as unpopular as he's become amongst his base, he could still get that done. If he was in a if somebody was in a district next door and Bernie endorsed him in Vermont, they would probably win. But you couldn't save Jamal Bowman in your own city. You couldn't get Cori Bush, who had to basically fight without you the first time. You joined the fight this time, didn't matter. You were not a difference maker at all. You don't swing votes, like you don't whip votes from one side to the other. You don't whip votes from establishment Democrats to progressive Democrats, whatever the hell that means, but at least for progressive legislation. Like, what do? You get on Instagram Live and you ramble. That's it. But hey, at least you got that one victory that literally everyone did, like everyone helped you accomplish. Everybody helped you accomplish that one victory. You've been riding that wave ever since. While the rest of us have still been working. Just saying. Wendy Melly, thank you very much for the super chat. We have to brag to Democrats that our third party votes will give them Trump. Power to the people. Yeah, no, I'm perfectly on board with that. Somebody else said that today too. I saw on Twitter, they're like, oh, I think it was Nick. Yeah, I think it was Nick. yeah, no, Nick don't be giving a fuck. And I completely agree because I appreciate chaos within the Democratic Party. I appreciate it. I love it. Because I don't care which side, no, actually I do care. Because one side duopoly, like I said, Republicans' job is to maintain the status quo. It's a pretty easy job. But Democrats have a little bit more complicated of a job, which is maintain the status quo, even probably make things a little bit worse, but convince people that they're on our side. That pisses me off. Because don't lie to me. Don't act like you my friend and then stab me in the back and try to take my girl and my job. Right? And that's what we get with the Democratic Party. So in this particular case, whenever they scream, voting for Jill Stein is going to get you Trump. Oh, well, you should have gave us a better candidate to vote for. Not that I would have voted for a Democrat anyway, but you should have gave your base a better candidate to vote for at least. Hell, maybe you should have let your base vote for a candidate. I don't know, maybe even that. Because one of the things that the primary process does that isn't being taken into account right now is that it gives almost like an emotional commitment. You have a certain base of people who voted for you that now feel like they have to see the victory through. It's just, it's psychology. It happens. I'm a New York Knicks fan. I've been suffering for almost my entire life. In the part, the other than the couple of the mellow years, and then recently, obviously, the part of my life that they were good, I barely remember. I was 6, 7 years old. I'm a New York Knicks fan. Already committed. We're gonna have to get through this together. It's just part of life. But they didn't have a primary process. And therefore, there was no loyalty created. People are not invested in Kamala winning. There are some people who are financially invested, like Angela. That's different. There are some people who are running the campaign that are invested. That's different. There are some people who are actually seeing opportunity be created to be part of the Democratic political machine. That's also different. That has nothing to do with Kamala. That's like, oh, wow, I have an opportunity to make money if I play this game. That's not going to win you an election, though. You didn't create the loyalty that a primary process creates, that Trump is currently benefiting from. For everything that they want to say about Trump, Trump won his primary not once, but twice. And the second time was more brutal. The first time was funnier, but the second time was more brutal in the way that he won. It was almost like he was the incumbent this time around. He wasn't the incumbent last time around, but I'm saying for somebody who won so dominantly, you usually don't see that type of dominance unless the person is the presidential incumbent, and he's not. So there is something to be said for people seeing their candidate through to the finish line. They did not create that loyalty. So that's also the Democratic Party's fault. So if voting for Jill Stein gets y'all Trump, so fucking be it. At least we know that it's a guarantee he'll only get 4 years. At least that. And we know that y'all will spend the next 4 years calling him out, even when it's a lie. But the things that he does do, at least these phony leftists, these latte liberals will be willing to talk about it. And there'll be some light shit on it. Like, how there's actually more police brutality now than there was under Trump, but they actually don't talk about it. So there are no protests in the streets. Like that. Like they fund cops more. We went from defund the police to shit, let them get their bag. For real. Like that's what happened. I mean, like how there wasn't a genocide. It was just an apartheid. It went from apartheid to straight genocide. and 20 seconds flat. Like there wasn't a war between Russia and Ukraine, and then like there is one now. Four years of Trump, and we get whatever we get next. But at least y'all talk about it. At least we will know what Trump did. If Kamala wins, y'all, I'm gonna drop some knowledge on y'all. Because some people don't even realize how dire it is if Kamala wins. If Kamala wins, y'all think her administration will start in January, was it 20th, 21st? No. Joe Biden has already declared to the entire world that he is not mentally fit to become president, or to be president, excuse me. He's already admitted it. That's why he's not running. And if Kamala wins, which I don't believe will be legit, I'm just gonna go ahead and put that out there. But if she does win, now, according to the establishment, she will have an official mandate to take over. So who do you think will be finishing out the presidency? It'll be Kamala. Which they won't actually announce until she actually wins. If that were to happen, because I'm sure she's kind of doing it now, but she has to win first because one, she can't roam the country like she would. She can't roam the country like she would or is doing now if she's actually the president. She'll be able to do some campaigning, but you know, we're kind of in the middle of like World War III. So people would expect her to be in office. Right now, all negative things that Biden does will fall squarely on him and she can duck and dodge. So, but if she wins, that's different. So you're gonna have 3 months, 2 or 3 months of Kamala. And Lord knows what happens at that point. Because Kamala, I know people want to be like, oh, they don't control. Yeah, I know that they're not really in control, but there are levels to that, to not being in control and being in control. You get what I'm saying? Like Bill Clinton wasn't in control, but he was in control enough that he managed to rig the ATF, rig the DEA, and push this 94 crime bill through and the Telecommunications Act. And like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, he had some control. He fired almost all the U.S. attorneys that didn't agree with him and federal judges who wouldn't play ball with him. And look at what happened because of it. So yeah, they're ultimately all controllable, but there are some people who are more controllable than others. You get my point? And the people who are most controllable are those with the least amount of actual power. Kamala has no actual power. She was a fabricated political Barbie. She has to do whatever the fuck they say, without question. So you get that for the next 3 months. And then you get 4 years of that. Oh, but if they could rig an election and give you 4 years of Kamala, guess what? That means you get another 4 years of that. How do y'all think that we survive? I'm dead ass serious. Like, and I guess survive, like that's a loose description. I don't know. It would be a very different definition of survival if we had managed to still be breathing. Do y'all think that we evade an all-out World War III if Kamala gets 8 years? I'm not talking, because we already in World War III. We all know. Y'all not new here. Y'all know we're in the middle of World War III. It's just like a little secret World War III right now. It's a little different. But I'm talking about the actual World War III. The one where they finally make a declaration in Congress and y'all asses get drafted. Do y'all think we evade that with 8 years of Kamala? No. No, if Kamala wins, we are, I mean, I don't even know how to describe all the ways that we are screwed. Because you have someone who has, this isn't like if Hillary Clinton won. If Hillary Clinton wins, like she had her own agenda, she's horrible, but she's like in control of it to some degree. Y'all get what I'm saying? There are levels to this. Hillary Clinton is a controlled demolition. Kamala Harris is an atomic bomb that's just dropping wherever the fuck. She don't know. She's like, I don't know. I just put it wherever they told me to put it. I just dropped it whatever they told me to drop it. And she's an idiot. She wouldn't know how to push back on something if she wanted to. She's like yelling at Palestinians. Yeah, can you stop genociding our people? I'm talking. Like, that's who we're dealing with. She didn't even have the self-awareness to not be an idiot when people were like, can you stop killing our friends and family? 4 years of Trump and y'all telling us everything he did and does? Or 8 years and 3 months of Kamala and y'all pretending like she's the second coming of Jesus while she's starting World War III. Yeah, nah, I feel like I would rather vote my conscience and make y'all pay attention to the issues that we actually like. I would rather the problems that we have in this country not be ignored, which would be the case if Trump won. They wouldn't be ignored all of a sudden. Like, I mean, shit, y'all see how quick they flipped the script on Palestine? Hey, man, we can talk about it because we don't like Biden. Yeah, free Palestine. It's a genocide. Oh, hold on really quick. We nominated Kamala. Well, let's not be too hasty, guys. She's doing whatever she can. She's there's a 1% chance she's going to be better than Biden. That shit happened like that on a genocide. Imagine everything else. In a week, all of liberal media went from actually talking about the genocide to saying, well, let's either not talk about it or there's a 1% chance it's going to be better. That's how quick. It's scary how quick that shit was. And I told y'all, didn't I tell y'all? I said, they're talking about it when it's Biden, but whenever it's Kamala, that's done. All right, I told y'all. I remember. We've had this conversation I don't know how many times. Really quick, I do want to talk about the debate for a little bit because that was shit. That debate was boring. It proved to me that Trump is actually not a good campaigner without Steve Bannon. I was questioning a lot why he didn't want to run, why he didn't want to debate Kamala. Y'all remember that? I was like, I don't know, it's stupid. Let's let her ramble and sound like an idiot. But it turns out the reason that he didn't want to debate Kamala to some degree is because he was going to end up rambling and sounding like an idiot his damn self. Can I be honest with y'all? I was disappointed in Trump's performance. Let me pull up this tweet for y'all. I tweeted my thoughts about it. I'm gonna go into some detail about what I meant, but this is like a summary of my thoughts. If I can find it, Jesus Christ. Here we go. I said, so basically the debate was, I'm great, you suck, and this is all your fault. And no, I'm the one who's great, it's you who sucks, and it's actually all your fault. That's kind of what I got. That was my main takeaway. I thought it was gonna be more than that. It wasn't. So I said that also, I was surprised at how much more Kamala lied and wasn't pushed to respond directly to questions. For example, the very first question they asked her, which was, I want to say about the economy. Like, is the economy good or not? Like, because you said two different things. You brag about the economy in one instance, and then you said, no, actually it sucks and I need to fix it. So is it good or not? She did not answer that question at fucking all. At all. Not even a little bit, actually. And they didn't even really push her back. She's like, well, here's what I'll say. Whenever somebody asks you a direct question, you're like, well, here's what I'll say. Why? If I'm a moderator, I'm like, no. I'm gonna stop you. I'm gonna stop you right there. I asked you a question. I need you to respond to that before you start telling me what you're going to say. Like, you're not going to choose what question you respond to in a debate. That's the whole point of moderators. I said she even blamed Xi Jinping for not being transparent about the origins of the pandemic, which is partially true. That is true. But it was the Democrats calling Trump Republicans and literally everyone else racist and xenophobic for discussing the true origins of the pandemic. She wasn't transparent in the sense that he was refusing to acknowledge the fact that China was accepting U.S. money and allowed the United States to outsource a bioweapons lab and create dangerous viruses in China in a seemingly unregulated environment. And what I was referring to in that particular case was whenever she was like, he was celebrating Xi Jinping, even though he wasn't transparent in the way that this pandemic unfolded and how it started. I'm thinking to myself, like, hold up. That's supposed to be Trump's line, isn't it? Because we were like, Trump was like, yo, nah, it was definitely lab. And we were all like, yeah, it was definitely in the lab. And I was definitely like, hey, y'all should probably be asking the Chinese government why they were allowing, because this is Chinese government I think it's probably the most centralized superpower in the world. In other words, don't shit happen without the CCP's approval. And if there was a U.S. bioweapons lab in China, China knew about it. And if the lab leak happened, China knew about that. But also, the U.S. knew where it was at, why it happened, and that the lab was responsible for it. They knew all that. Both sides knew. That's my take on that. But whenever we tried to have that conversation, remember the Democrats were calling us racist? We're like, hold on, what? I don't even understand what the hell this has to do with anything. This is just literally saying this happens to be the country that it's in. When we talk about the damage that NAFTA, for example, has done to America, specifically the Rust Belt, we don't say it's racist because we know those jobs went to China. That's where the fucking jobs went. What you want? Want me to lie? We just gonna redact that part of the conversation? That's where the jobs went. Or whenever jobs went to India, or like that's where the jobs went. So it was weird to hear Kamala pretend as if Trump, in that particular case, didn't try to call out China and Xi Jinping and Fauci and everybody who was involved in that lab leak cover-up, because he actually did. And she lied, and the moderators actually did not fact check her on that. It wasn't Trump in that particular case who was celebrating China. He was being attacked as a racist. And it was also, all that was kind of funny because remember how we were like, yeah, they're calling like anybody who brings up this lab leak theory right now is racist. But we all know when Biden and Trump start debating, it's going to be who is the most xenophobic and who is the most anti-China. And that's literally what ended up happening. We were like, y'all don't give a shit about China. Y'all don't give a shit about being racist towards China, because as soon as once we get past this pandemic conversation, y'all gonna go straight racist, and anything China is gonna be considered to be horrible. And that's literally what they did. It was so predictable. But the fact that they were defending China so much all of a sudden made it kind of obvious, like there's more going on here, because neither party ever comes out and openly defends the Chinese government. So I also said that Trump fell for the same neocon talking points and sensationalism on most issues that aren't going to win him independent voters. If he would have just did a simple compare and contrast of today's economy versus 4 years ago, pre-pandemic, and promised to stay out of unnecessary conflicts and promised to stop funding conflicts started by Biden and NATO, he could have let Kamala talk and remind the country of the vapid fool of an empty suit that she is, and would have ran away with a clear victory. But he didn't. He did not do that. He just rambled. Talked about Haitians eating some dog, and that got debunked like immediately the next day. It was actually somebody from Ohio, actually, which I guess when you think about it in hindsight, it's not that surprising. When I heard it, I was like, man, that motherfucker probably was really from Ohio. That sounds like some Ohio shit. It was from, the person was either from Ohio or it was somebody from Florida who was visiting Ohio for vacation. Like, come on, bro. Why? We're going, and I guess like the only difference is this time, all of a sudden he's like, they're taking black jobs. He said the immigrants, they're taking black jobs and Latin jobs. Like he decided he wants a Latin vote this time around. But he's like, they're taking both of y'all's jobs. Nah, bro. Like, you want to talk about what we're doing in Haiti, first of all, before we talk about Haitian immigrants? Like, why are they even coming here? You want to talk about that part? Of course not. That would have been, you know what was funny? He could have literally brought up everything that Joe Biden's government has done in Haiti. How we've tried to install, the reason that the conflict is ongoing still is because they refuse to accept the government that we're installing. We're on our second, well, I guess technically, since we assassinated Moise, we're on our third. But so assassination of Moise, we tried to install somebody, that didn't work, so we installed somebody else, and it still isn't working. And that's why the conflict is ongoing. He could have said that. He could have actually he could have taken the time to dig at Kamala, take a dig at Joe Biden, make Kamala respond to something that you knew she was not prepared to address, and still would have been able to placate his base on the issue of immigration. You get what I'm saying? But instead, it's like, maybe he's not as sharp as he used to be. Maybe, once again, or maybe he can't actually campaign as effectively without Steve Bannon holding his hand, because he was reflexive. He went with what he thought would get him likes and retweets on Truth Social. He went with whatever he thought his base would consider a victory. He was anti-war at times, and then he was like, I'm willing to go to war at times. He was like, yeah, I'll work with them. And he's like, no, they're scared of me. Or like, you know what I'm saying? Like, boy, are you all over the place? Kamala was all over the place too, but it didn't. So here's my belief. I think that everybody here would agree, not having a crowd benefits Kamala. Having a crowd almost certainly benefits Trump. Trump is the kind of person who plays off of the energy of the room. It's one of his strengths. It's one of his gifts as a politician, if you will. And there's nothing wrong with that, because Trump can play off the energy of the room if they like him or hate him. And it's almost better if they hate him. If they hate him, this man can have the whole room screaming and booing him, but everybody else online is cheering him and donating to him. Like, that's who he is. That's who he's been anyway. But because there was no crowd to let him know what he was saying was good or bad or being well received or not being well received, it was like he kept rambling, waiting for the applause or waiting for the boos. And they never came, obviously, because there was no crowd. But you get what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't know where to naturally pause. He doesn't know where to stop the sentence. He doesn't know where to stop the thought. And if he feels he doesn't have the trigger to know whether what he said was well received or not, he flipped the subject to something that he feels like is going to play to his base. That's why it seemed like he was all over the place, because anytime he felt unsure about his response, he would start rambling about some shit he thought his base would support. And it was like, I don't know. I guess I'm saying that it seemed like he was kind of insecure during that debate. And all of a sudden, it became kind of unsurprising that he didn't want to have a debate with Kamala. Remember, at first, he didn't accept the debate. It didn't happen until later. And there's not a guaranteed debate right now that's scheduled. This should have been a walk in the park. But they set up the circumstances to favor Kamala, which we expected that, though. He should have expected that. But also, Kamala's an idiot, and it shouldn't have mattered. Biden and Kamala have probably had the worst administration of my lifetime. It shouldn't have mattered. But it kind of did. It mattered. They stacked the deck in Kamala's favor in some ways. And Trump did not respond well. His team did not prepare him well. And it was obvious. I think that he didn't win anybody that night. I don't believe Kamala really won anybody that night either. Like in the swing states, I mean. I don't think anybody was like, yeah, man, I know exactly who I'm gonna vote. Unless there were a lot of people who were like, I'm definitely voting third party. I'm definitely probably voting for Jill Stein after this shit show. Probably that, right? But Kamala's camp, Trump's camp, probably still Trump's camp. And both sides were lying through their teeth. And in Trump's case, lying unnecessarily at times. Like, why? Kamala was on some shit, though. Kamala saying that Trump supported 2025 over and over and over again, knowing that that isn't true. Trump has said, I don't know how many times that he doesn't support that shit. He's been very, very open about not supporting it and even criticizing neocons who wrote it. And she's like, gets to lie, and her base and the commentators the next day didn't really call her out on it. I also think that it's weird that she keeps talking about that Kamala kept trying to play to this. We need to move on. We need to stop being so hateful. And there's going to be a lot of name calling. There's going to be personal attacks. But she did all of that. She was the one who engaged in personal attacks. She was the one who engaged in the name calling. She was the one who was being petty. And to be frank, from what I heard and from what I remember, she lied more than Trump did. Like, which is, I guess, not that crazy because it's Kamala. But it's crazy because in this particular race, Trump is the one who's considered to be the liar by liberals. And I'm like, no, like Kamala lied more and gaslighted the fuck out of us. Trump has some bad takes. Trump did some messed up shit. And so focus on that. Don't lie to me about the reason I shouldn't vote for somebody. Because I don't know if y'all know this. There are a lot of people that if you lie to them about why they shouldn't vote for somebody, they'll vote for that person. Now, a lot of people voted for Trump because of lies that were told about him in the past. Not even because of what they thought he supported. They're like, oh, well, if they're lying that much about him, shit, I'm gonna vote for him. There must be something good about him. That's how a lot of people think. Don't lie to me about why I shouldn't vote for somebody. Of course, don't lie to me about why I should vote for somebody, but damn sure don't lie to me about, because then people feel deceived and it's like a vengeance vote. On the issue of Israel and Palestine, because that was a big one. That's a big talking point. I will say that whole 1% shit went out the window, didn't it? Because, I mean, for me, it already went out the window. But that whole talking point, Sam Cedar, Emma Vigilant, and all those, and a lot of CNN pundits and talking heads put out like, oh man, there's a 1% chance. No, that shit is out the window because Kamala made it very clear. Yeah, no, we're gonna do exactly what we're doing right now. We're gonna continue that shit. We know what that means. Oh, hey, JB in the chat. I thought I saw JB. Hey, JB. And he kept going back. That is exactly what the hell. That is exactly what happened, JB. Trump would ramble, and then somehow keep going back to immigration. Which is crazy because I'm like, bro, they out here putting more people in immigration detention centers than you. They might be busting them in. That could be true. Some of the ones that they are accepting. But also there are racists. Like I said, it's the abortion issue. The immigration issue is the abortion issue, but it's probably worse because both parties create the circumstances that foster immigration. But also, both parties are profiting. The people who sit on the boards of these detention centers are in the government making money off of immigration. Where they aren't making money legally off of immigration, they're making money off of the fucking trafficking, the human trafficking. That's why it's allowed to persist. So there's that. Shout out to Christian. Lindsay Davis, one of the moderators in AKA sorority. Oh yeah, I heard. Yeah, she probably should have not been a moderator. But you know, that would be playing fair. So that was going to happen. Oh yeah, that whole 1%, like that she's going to be better than Trump on it. No, that's just out the window. I will say on that, I was kind of surprised by Trump because Trump was like, he wants to get it over with ASAP. He wants to stop it ASAP. I don't know how he wants to stop, but that's what he said. He's like, we need to get it. It needs to be done. And he was actually clear. He understood if this is allowed to continue the way it is, that there is going to be a regional impact that will not only affect the rest of the region, but it will destroy Israel. He understood that and actually talked about it. He was like, y'all, I mean, don't y'all actually want Israel to survive this shit? Because they won't if this continues. Because it's going to fuck with the region, but it's going to destroy Israel. And he understood that and made it like a global issue instead of touting the same, I'm just going to, Israel has a right to defend itself. We're just going to keep funding them and doing the same thing we're doing. Because doing the same thing that we're doing has led to what? Just more deaths. More volunteers getting killed. I don't know if y'all heard, they literally just killed more UN volunteers. And I just couldn't help but think to myself, if those UN volunteers had said that they were there to deliver some off-brand polio vaccine to some children, maybe they would have had their lives spared by Israel. But no, they were probably there like delivering food, medicine, things like that. That'll get you killed in Israel. But delivering Bill Gates off-brand polio vaccines, that'll get you paid. But yeah, that was kind of a little bit surprising to me, that I felt like on that issue in particular, Trump was actually better than Kamala. Like I had more of a reason to believe, if I'm just going off of the debate, I had more of a reason to believe that we have a better chance of ending that conflict with Trump in power than Kamala. I mean, shit, to continue what we're doing now is obviously not an option, but it was the immediacy of it. It was no, we need to end this shit. It needs to be done as soon as possible. These will be the consequences otherwise, and it will affect both parties horribly if we don't stop this. Kamala didn't even really respond to that, which was kind of bizarre. She just went on to talk about how loyal to she because, Trump was like, she hates Israel. She hates him. She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu. I'm like, well, you kind of embarrassed Netanyahu. Did we forget that? Not liking Netanyahu doesn't necessarily mean you hate Israel. Shit, I'm sure a lot of Israelis feel that way right now. But she was more concerned about defending her love for Israel than she was explaining how her actions will actually benefit Israel. Because right now, Israel is not I know people seem to believe that because there's a genocide going on, but just because Palestinians are suffering doesn't mean that Israel is actually benefiting. They're not. Their country is in chaos right now, and their economy is on the verge of collapse. Turns out, spending all your money on weapons manufacturers in the U.S. doesn't actually put food on the fucking table. Who knew? Most of their sectors are suffering, and people are fleeing and cutting bait. And so whenever she was challenged on that, I would expect her to have a response, but she didn't. So like, I left that debate like, damn, okay, so with the Israel-Palestine issue, it's kind of hard to when people say Kamala, like, I left the debate feeling like, oh shit, no, there's like literally 100% chance that genocide will continue with Kamala. I have zero incentive now to even pretend. There's no need to even kind of put a caveat. It's like, oh no, she's very clear. This genocide is going to continue. There was a study put out that showed that if the U.S. stopped funding the genocide, it would probably have to end in about 2 or 3 months at the latest. And that's because the Israel would have exhausted all of its artillery. So they would probably stop before that. So what we've learned is if the U.S. stops giving them money and artillery, they don't continue the genocide. Trump is the type to be like, I'm done. We're not doing this anymore. Not because he loves Palestine, but because he just hates being part of losing efforts. That's just not his thing. It's an ego thing more than anything else. Roger Meadows from Rockfin, thank you very much. Yo, Niko, we have no Greens in New York State Legislature, Assembly, State, Senate. Where you seen the picture Justin Beth sent me that I sent Kit was AOC campaign for? No. Oh man, I gotta show you that. But it's on my iPad. Y'all do have a green. It's a state senator. And I gotta find it. But my man Case from Case Study QB sent it to me because he lives in New York. So, but yeah, so what I was saying was I just left that feeling like, yo, this is not a good thing. Kamala probably she was already losing half of her Muslim voters to Jill Stein. And to the ones she hasn't lost to Jill Stein, I'm sure are just not going to vote. But I think she probably lost more. And the Muslim voters live in swing states, dominantly in swing states. And those are the ones that she's probably going to lose. Like, there are Muslims in all states, obviously, but like they swing elections in swing states. They have that big of a population. Like, for example, Michigan, which she cannot afford to lose. They're going to lose Michigan. Democrats are about to lose Michigan, y'all. And honestly, I kind of hope they cheat because I just kind of want them to get caught cheating. I just want them to get caught cheating in real time. Is that weird? I hope they cheat. I hope they lose. But like, I need the Democrats to get caught cheating because I am terrified for our democracy. If they can win and cheat to do it again, and there's no consequences. In fact, it's the opposite of consequences. Like, every time someone has tried to call them out for cheating, get recounts done at a massive scale, whether it be Jill Stein in 2016, Trump in 2020, or hell, whenever we start the DNC fraud lawsuit, you get a combination of retaliation and people getting killed. And I wish that was hyperbole, but it's not. So if they're able to do this again, at the general election level, and they're able to shore up any level of legal retaliation for what they've done, any level of accountability, that is terrifying, guys. I'm not gonna lie to you. We live in a banana republic. We know our democracy is not really the best. We know it's pretty problematic. We know all these things, but it's like you get like a 35% chance that the candidate who was supposed to who got the most votes wins, or at least won the electoral college, and that's in both the state legislature, the Senate and the House, right? Sometimes it's legitimate, sometimes it's not. I would say probably most times it's not. But if they can take the most unpopular VP, rig an election to be the most popular Republican incumbent in history, that's a terrifying thought. It would be just as terrifying in reverse too. But what I'm saying is, like, that's like, now we've gone from the duopoly to like, nah, this is just one party running shit now, and we can't hold them accountable. And if you try to hold them accountable, you will be, look what they did to Trump. They're weaponizing the Justice Department against him, and you got liberals cheering them on as they do it. Trump couldn't hold fucking Hillary Clinton accountable for the shit she did. They're like, oh, well, now that he's won, if he tries to hold her accountable, it's political retaliation. It's like, well, no, it's just shit she did while Secretary of State. This is illegal. Everything she did, like, literally, what was James Comey's statement, guys, whenever she was found guilty? Hillary Clinton was guilty of everything that we accused her of, but she didn't mean to do it, so we're not going to prosecute her. That was wild. I was like, hold up, that's not how the fucking law works. I'm pretty sure that's not how it works. I wish, right? When you get a speeding ticket, you get stopped. Officer, look, I know I was doing 87, but I didn't mean to. Come into slack. Yo, The only thing that intent does in most cases is just change the severity of the sentence. That's about it. But yeah, it's terrifying, the idea that we could possibly end up in a situation where Kamala beats Trump, but it's not legitimate. It's terrifying because that means that we've gone from a duopoly to a one-party country that can literally just wreak havoc and attack anybody. And then it's just like chaos at that point. Because obviously the Republicans are just they're going to react how they react. And then some of those Republicans they might as well be part of the Democratic Party. So there's that. The censorship gets crazier and we have no way to push back or fight back. They control the money and where it goes. They control the police. They control all that shit. And the top cop, literally, Kamala Harris, would be president. It's just like, I mean, if voting for Jill Stein accidentally leads to Trump and stops that from happening, I'm okay with that, guys. I'm okay with that. Roger Meadows said, Case lives in New Jersey. I live in New York. You didn't finish reading my last message. That would explain it. You're most likely thinking of the person I named in my last message. Jabari. What, Jabari? Am I missing a name? Cause I don't think I'm thinking about Jabari. I could be thinking about Jabari, but I don't think that's his name. But yeah, oh yeah, you're right. Kate does live in New Jersey now. I forgot. He's from New York, but he lives in New Jersey. But it's basically the same thing, you know. Jersey is basically New York's pollution dumping ground. That's kind of like what it is, unfortunately. But it's also the Garden State. Isn't it weird how every time you drive into New York, you drive to New Jersey, and the clouds are like, it's always cloudy and weird and like nasty, and then like you get into New York and it's like shiny. Has anybody else had that experience on the turnpike? But I'm gonna ask Case about it, bro. Rogers, appreciate it. So yeah, nah, I'm definitely like, if Trump loses, is going to be the Republicans' next leader. They don't have a next leader. Trump, I mean, the Republicans and the Democrats are kind of in the same place. They don't have a next leader. But that's also what makes this election kind of important. I call this one of the most important elections in history, but it's not for the same reasons that like most pundits are calling it that. I don't believe that Trump is the threat to democracy they claim. I don't believe that Kamala has any control over anything. But, like I said, the consequences of our elections are real, whether or not the results are legitimate, if y'all get what I'm saying. And there's a reverberating impact that could happen, and it's going to be huge. And it doesn't matter which candidate wins. Like, it's going to be different. The impact is going to be different, but the consequences are going to be real, regardless of who wins. And it's almost like a pick your poison type of situation. I get that, which is why I'm voting for Jill Stein, because I just refuse to drink poison. But I'm not going to give a mandate to a party that told me that they can rig elections legally. And I'm also not going to give a mandate to Trump, who picks and chooses when he wants to hold his government accountable based off of whether or not they're kissing his ass. Like, you're choosing J.D. Vance as your VP candidate. You have not learned your lesson, not in my opinion. So we can't even trust that. I would hope that he would end the war in Ukraine at least, or like stop funding it. I don't know. I can't trust you because you don't even know. You change your mind every day now. But I know where Jill Stein stands, and I do know that Trump will only get 4 more years. And Republicans don't have a power player. If anything, Trump winning gives the left the ability to build, coalesce, organize in a way that we haven't really been able to. and challenge the Democrats. And I'm not talking about in offices. I'm talking about like real organizing. Like, fuck y'all, we're going to do mutual aid. We're going to have organizations. We're going to do our own education. We're going to make it so that we can have our own system within the system type of shit. It's possible, and it's happened before. Chip, like you don't need the government type of organizing, which would be the biggest threat to either party. That is what we need. We need the type of organizing that doesn't, where if we vote, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna vote for local elections, and I guess I'll vote for the president while I'm there, but that shit ain't got nothing to do with us. We gonna be all right, regardless. We doing our thing. And that's possible. But not while people believe that either of these parties and either of these candidates can save us. And the Republicans are still gonna have to go through their heartbreak with Trump. Like we went through with Bernie. We're already ready. Most of us are already ready. Kamala is making it easier for us, honestly. She's sending us fucking ex-Democrats by the boatload. We appreciate your services, Kamala. There are a lot of people who didn't know about Jill Stein. There are a lot of people who didn't know about leftist organizers. A lot of people didn't know about leftist independent media until you just became such a shitty candidate that they went and found us. So we appreciate you. We really do. I'm sure Jill appreciates y'all too. So yeah, man, just overall, that debate was just very disappointing. It wasn't entertaining. The fact that we had a no crowd debate when there's no pandemic will not ever stop being fucking weird to me. Like, and it hasn't really been discussed enough because there's no excuse. Why? Since when do we do crowdless debates? Since when? The excuse you used was the pandemic before. There is no pandemic. It was like whenever they used the riots, quote unquote, to set the curfew in certain cities. And then it went from that to, oh, well, to stop super spreading, we're gonna have to put out curfews too. It's like, hold up, what? That's not what y'all said. It's the same shit with this. It's, yeah, we did this because of the pandemic. Okay, well, what about now? Yeah, now we're just doing it because we feel like it, and y'all let us get away with it. So that's crazy. They're uprooting our democracy and everything that we've, like, they're even like destroying the fake image that we had of democracy at one point. They don't give a damn. And they're like, it's being allowed. And you got people like Angela Rye and AOC. They're just assisting it. Why? Because their bills are paid. It's easy to be a part of the empire whenever you're making so much money, you can't go broke in the empire. And you just living so high up, you can't see us people down here. It is what it is. We don't really need them though, because like, God, could you imagine AOC trying to organize some shit? That bitch can't even organize her thoughts for an Instagram live feed. Could you imagine her trying to organize a movement? It's probably best that they over there. Stay over there, please. We got this over here. Shout out to all my independent thinkers out there. Y'all know I love y'all. Y'all know I'm a leftist, but my independent conservatives, I know y'all out there too. I rock with y'all. All my anti-government people. Appreciate y'all. I really do. Anti-duopoly people. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of For the People podcast. Make sure y'all like this video. Make sure y'all share. Make sure you subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Hit it. Hit that notification bell. Like the video. If you have a question you want to ask me and you want to support the show, you can ask me on qbounty.com. The link is in the description. You can support the show by becoming a patron on Patreon. You can become a premium member of the channel or a premium member over on Rockfin. But always remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.